Problem number 4. Water is steadily pumped out of the flooded basement. Let V be the volume of water in thousands of gallons that remain in the basement. T hours after the water began to be pumped. A linear model is shown below. So here's a linear model that describes our situation. This is hours, and I want to point out this hour 0 here. 0 hours at the beginning. There's 28,000 gallons of water. And hour 7, it looks like it came down to 0. And so we're going to be able to read this graph and estimate the number of gallons left in the basement. Let's answer the questions. How much water is in the basement after 4 hours of pumping? So hours is your x-axis. So we have 4 hours, and then the question is how many thousands of gallons are left. So I take my 4 here, I go up, and then I look at the corresponding y value. It looks like it's going to be 12. So after 4 hours, there are 12,000 gallons of water. Okay, and all that was obtained by reading the graph. Let's take a look at the next one. After how many hours will pumping will 2,000 gallons remain? So I try to look at the 2,000 gallons here. So the 2 is over here between the 0 and the 4, and I basically want to trace this out to the line and try to figure out what the hours are. So it looks like I would be looking at this point, which is between 6 and 7, about 6.5 hours. So let's say, well, let's identify the point that we're talking about here. Remember that the thing that we found is the hours, and then the second variable is the gallons remaining, thousands of gallons. So here's a point that we're looking for. We're looking for a point where the y value is equal to 2, and we found that the x value is 6.5 or 6.5. So after 6.5 hours, there's 2,000 gallons remain. The next one, how much water was in the basement before any water was pumped out? So if we're talking about before any water was pumped out, we are talking about 0 hours. This is the beginning. So before any pumping came out, we are looking at the value of the thousands of gallons, the y value. So 0 hours is before we get started, and then there were 28,000 gallons there. So before pumping, there were 28,000 gallons of water. Okay, our last one. After how many hours of pumping will all the water be pumped out of the basement? So the thousands of gallons at 0, no water. No water remaining, and that looks like it happens right here. So this time your point is going to be the hours is 7 hours where you have 0 water left. So after 7 hours of pumping, all the water will be pumped out. Okay, so all these correspond to points on your linear model. So when you're asked a question similar to this, what you would want to do is you would look for these points in your linear model, identify them as points, and then be able to answer the question. Okay?